Hello and welcome to episode 2 of Chatting Shit about the Venture Cup. I thought these guys did such a good job last month that I invited them all back together at the same time again this month. That's a lie. I completely forgot they were all together. Never mind. I'm sure it'll be grand again. We've got James, Holmesy, Stuart, Spock, and Andrew, Mystic Gas. How is everyone doing?
You're good, mate.
Yeah, all good, mate.
Yeah, good, thank you.
Good. 1 point picks. What do we think? Loads of good ones. Trying to avoid them, or
Yeah, a lot of options. With 1 point picks. I mean, you got to pick some of them, and there are a lot of good ones there. So it's just up to us to be creative and get the right balance, I think.
yeah, I think that's fair. I think you can go one of two ways with them. You can go like perhaps a bit not great but versatile, or like super specialized and but a bit, I don't know, like reliable but specialized. I don't think that's the route that James has gone down with his pick.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I like quite a lot of the 1 point picks, and I think that maybe tournament 7 you could bring 6 1 pointers to the table.
Yeah.
And see how that goes. I think if you get 1 win, that'd be quite nice. I mean, like, 1 win in a best of 3, not like 1 actual round win.
Oh right. Oh.
I think you can do better than that. I mean, you can get a good team purely from 1 point picks. I think they're pretty nice. Some of them.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, do you want to tell us about your pick then, James?
Not really. You've already slagged it off.
I didn't mean it I meant it in the nicest possible way.
Yeah, so my really, really specialised 1 point pick is Ninetales. And it's really specialised because it beats Abomasnow. And that's it. Like, your opponent's going to have a Abomasnow, so you need Ninetales. And that is literally it. If your opponent doesn't bring Abomasnow, you're only playing with 5 Pokemon. Like, that is end of conversation. No, it's actually a little bit better than that. Although it is, yeah, but it is quite niche. And like, we just did a practice tournament tonight, and there was teams that you just wouldn't bring Ninetales against. There's quite a lot of mud boys about, and it's hard to think. I think I always try and avoid the RPS, and I've picked one of the most RPS mons in the cup, I think, to talk about today, because like if they've got a mud boy and a grass type or a Abomasnow, then you just fall into the RPS trap, aren't you? But the thing I really like about it, and I think it's generally something I look for in a pick, is a second move that's a bit unknown. So I think it's got like 3 viable second moves. I think you have to go Weather Ball, but actually then Solar Beam, Size Shock.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Size Shock.
Yeah. And Overheat. I just written Psy down, which apart from and Overheat. Now, I think it depends on your team comp, but just on pure percentages wise, Overheat is looking the best. Just as a nuke, it has quite good 0 shields. I think it's like 63% in the 0 shields, but also 70% in the 1s. But that's, I'd imagine, 100% of those are with a Weather Ball bait. You're not double overheating, are you? So Overheat, I think Overheat is I think Overheat's what I'm going to, if I run Ninetales, Overheat will be what I'll go for. But I don't know. As I said, it beats Abomasnow, and then a few other things. Actually, it surprised me on my deep dive today, because I was running Shadow in my first pick. I don't know what you guys think on the Shadow v non-Shadow.
I built a Shadow Ninetales. I quite like it, I think. But
yeah, it literally depends. I mean, there's some really, really good wins with a non-Shadow that you lose if you go Shadow, but also vice versa as well. So in non-Shadow, beats Dugong, Drifblim, Mew, Vig. In the 1s, they are bait dependent 1s, but you can win that matchup in the 1s with the non-Shadow, but the Shadow loses those like in all evens. Bait, even with baits, you have no chance. But then on the other hand, the Shadow, once again, bait dependent. It's a common theme with Ninetales, I think. But the Shadow, even though it loses those ones, can pick up Lickitung, Talonflame, and Hypno. In ones.
It's an interesting one.
Yeah.
Given that everything's resisted.
Yeah. So I think
Psyshock's neutral.
No, this is with Overheat. So this is
wow.
It's a Weather Ball bait, but then you beat it's the Overheat. If they don't get to 2, you get to Weather Ball and an Overheat before they get to 2. And then Shadow Overheat, even though it's resisted kills.
Yeah.
So like, I think if you're gonna pick Ninetales, I think it's the last choice you have to make to finish your 6 off is Shadow or non-Shadow, depending on if you need that sort of normal coverage of your Lickitungs, you go Shadow, or if you need your coverage of your Ghosts, so your Driftblooms, your Psychics, your Mews, then you go non-Shadow. I think it's probably the way forward. But yeah, it beats the Bombsnake.
No, it's an example. It's an example of a Shadow that I really like. It's sort of similar to Lapras in that sense, where like it's not overpoweringly strong. Like it's not like you're giving, when you give Razor Leaf a 20% boost, it's just a bit silly. But when you with things like Ninetales and Lapras, you don't make it better objectively or anything. You just flip a few matchups, and I think for me that's why I like the addition of Shadows in the game. Like that sort of interesting option in there. Yeah, I think the Talonflame one it seemed like a big one to me. Yeah.
I think I'm not a Talonflame user, certainly not this cup anyway, but I don't think I'd be shielding a potential Weather Ball bait, so I'm not sure in practice whether that's going to happen. But if they do shield the Weather Ball bait, you do win the race to your Overheat.
Right. But then with that in mind, you could just go for the Overheat, couldn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose you win the 0, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least get a shield. Yeah.
They won't see the Overheat coming necessarily. They might be expecting, Weather Ball or Sideshock or something. I think Overheat might catch them by surprise because not everyone runs Overheat on the Ninetales. So,
my favourite thing about Overheat is when you sort of like that 1 HP last ditch charge move. Like you've led Ninetales, you've beat something into one shield with very very low health, but got a bit of a farm on it, and then you Overheat before it faints. I think people don't shield it; they expect a Weather Ball.
Yeah.
Which is given the Overheat can almost one-hit certain things.
Not only do you win the game, but you like break your opponent's spirit as well. Like that's... Yeah. I know Andrew's pretty keen on ice types, particularly Castform Snowy. I know Andrew's a big fan of. How are you feeling about Ninetales here?
Well, I actually ran Ninetales in a practice. Beginning of the week, I ran mine with Psyshock, and I was very disappointed.
Do you use Psyshock much?
No. It was kind of laziness, to be fair, because I think PvP goes for Solar Beam as the recommended moveset.
Yeah,
I think it does. I don't know if it does on Venture or not, but just standard if you type in Ninetales, it does, yeah.
Yeah,
I think it is for Venture as well. Yeah.
I kind of kinged all my TMs on Mew, but yeah, that's another story. So I kind of got stuck with Psyshock, and I was switching into Frostlasses, and it still wasn't the greatest matchup in the world. Like I was coming out low on HP.
Well, yeah, Shadow Ball's going to hurt you, but
even the Avalanche didn't tickle.
Well, yeah, I don't know about that. Like, if you're not beating Frostlass with Ninetales,
I just think personally, if I'm going to go fire, I'm looking at Charizard, and I'm looking at Sunny Castform over Ninetales.
Hang on, what does Sunny Castform do that Ninetales doesn't? Surely it's just a less predictable. Surely it's just more predictable.
Well, yeah, but it comes down to also what you're comfortable with playing. Like Ninetales, do you go for the baits? Yes, no. Like you're saying, you could go straight Overheat, pick up a potential win in the zeros. They shield it. Ninetales is a goner basically. It's done its job of basically taking a shield and fainting.
It's an attack debuff, not a defense debuff. So you can always dip out, Overheat into it, You know, or even I know your attack's drastically gone, but you're not dead. But yeah, I see like overheat is sort of a Hail Mary. If you're in the lead, you're tending to overheat and dip. Like that's your sort of strategy if you're running Ninetales for sure. You've got to be a bit less switch orientated if you want to run the one that's going to butcher
I'm
you.
pretty sure Sunny Castform, obviously higher level, hitting 1500. You're carrying a lot more bulk with you as well. That bulk can come in key in some, iffy matchups.
Yeah, maybe. I think Ninetales is pretty bulky enough though, because like I remember ages ago, back in season 1, I was trying to decide between Ninetales and Charizard for one cup, and one of the things that swung it for me in the favour of Ninetales was the fact that I'm sure a Surf from Lapras doesn't. It does like less than 60% or something like that. So it's not like Ninetales is frail by any means. I suppose there might be something between Ember and Fire Spin that might make you want to run Castform as well. But I think the Charizard one's an interesting thing because of what James was saying about Bomber Snow. Because I think with Charizard the temptation is to not run a Fire Fast move. Certainly the way I've been looking at it, I've been looking at running anything but fire on Charizard, and at that point, a Bomber Snow is not something you want to face. Nor any ice types, really. I mean, your opponent doesn't know that, but Charizard's more of a mind gamey thing, whereas Castform and Ninetales seem like more reliable in that sense, I suppose.
I think, and this might, I think Charizard has to throw against the Bomber Snow as well. I don't think, even with Fire Spin, I don't think you can fully farm down. I think they get to 2 Weather Balls.
Yeah, and so the ice isn't resisted, so...
Yeah. Two kill. So Ninetales can fully farm down in the Bomber Snow.
Yeah.
I think, to be honest though, I think you'll find a lot more Snowy Castforms as the month goes on, because people will want to deal primarily with a Bomber Snow, an ice that beats, a Bomber Snow. I think you mentioned it last episode, Matt Glalie also does that role.
Most ice types beat a Bomber Snow.
I just think, the Snowy Castform obviously has the Weather Ball spam. It is crying out for a coverage move of some kind.
It's never gonna get it, mate. It's never gonna get it.
It's because it becomes too OP, that's why.
Well, do you know what? Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, it might be. But yeah, no, I think you're right. I think you're right. As I'm already. It was the practice tournament that I did on Tuesday night, which I think I ran into your Ninetales a lot with my Bomber Snow, James. That was like that was one of those things where it's like, right, well, if I'm spending 4 points on a Bomber Snow just to run into Ninetales every game, or just to run into a Fire type every game, I might as well just run 1 point on my Ice type, and then because you say it is a little bit RPS, but I feel like that's fine from a 1 point pick. I want my 4 point picks to be a bit less that way and a bit more versatile, and I think that's the appeal of a Bomber Snow in the first place, really, in my mind. But less that way if every team's carrying a counter user and a Fire type, and of course Poison types have just got a big buff this morning as well. So
Sorry, go on. I just built my Shadow Ninetales, so I'm kind of still in the new kind of, I've got a new toy kind of phase. So I'm really quite enjoying it. So I'm kind of very keen on it. But interesting you said Charizard, because if Charizard is running Dragon Breath, one thing it will deal with that Ninetales really struggles with is Kingdra, which I think could be everywhere. Because Ninetales can't really do anything to Kingdra unless it, throws a Solar Beam, because, Quad resists fire. So I thought that was a potential thought.
I think that's the thing with Ninetales. Ninetales is never going to be your pick where it beats 6 of my opponents. It's going to have 3 really hard wins and 3 really hard losses. So then you've got to make that decision of, do I bring the Ninetales to try and hard counter them, or risk getting hard counter myself? I think that is Ninetales' role in this cup. It's bench pressure. Do they bring you a Bomber Snow? Do they safe swap a Bomber Snow when you've got Ninetales? I think it's got various roles. Maybe not even in your 3, just in your 6.
Yeah. It's nice. It's when you mentioned that because sometimes it's quite nice. Sometimes it's quite nice to have a mon like that because when you've got a good team matchup 6 versus 6, you often don't necessarily need to bring those mons. But when you've got a bad team matchup, like often the only way out is, or it can often feel like the best route out is by going pure RPS. And at that point, having mons like Ninetales that have the ability to do things like that can, can get you out of some sticky spots for sure. Yeah. Well, any final thoughts on Ninetales? No. Okay.
No, don't at me when you don't see an Abomasnow.
Fair.
Where's my snowman? What are farm things?
Okay. Well, I'm next up, and my pick is the shiny that I took to regionals season 1 and never got to use, and it's Lugia. It's a beast. Like it's interesting that Holmesy was talking about the zero shield matchups for Ninetales, because that's something that Lugia's got some strong play in as well, for reasons that I will get to. First, Lugia, Pokedex number 249. Got to get the important stuff out of the way. What I like about Lugia is that when the cup first dawned, drops, I was looking at the sort of 10-point picks, and I was thinking like, what are the sort of cheaper versions of those things? And I couldn't really find a cheaper alternative to Cresselia, but I sort of thought Lugia might be a poor man's Cress. So that's, that sort of thing, like big bulky psychic type, fairly fast charging energy moving, extra sensory and Dragon Tail, although Dragon Tail looks like it's going to get a bit of a change. I think both are viable. Obviously, you get stabbed with extra sensory. You get completely unresisted here with Dragon Tail. Yeah, both at the minute are like clones of things like Ice Shard and Fire Spin as well. So solid moves. Even just because you don't see these moves very often doesn't necessarily mean they're bad. That's one thing people should consider. And what I like about it is that when people look for counter users, which again, Abomasnow is going to be around, Ice is going to be around, so counter users are going to be around. And when people look for counter users, they look for counter users that have coverage moves, which I'm sure we'll talk about later on in the episode. You look at things like Primeape with Night Slash. A Night Slash from Primeape does a third to Lugia, so it's going to need to land 3 to kill it, because it's not like those counters are going to add up either against the double resistance from the flying and the psychic. Similarly, Thunder Punch and Ice Punch from Hitmonchans do about a third as well. Rock Slide from Deoxys Defense does about a third. Now that matchup's a bit iffy anyway, because Deoxys isn't actually a fighting type, so you're not doing super effective damage with your Sky attacks. But even something like Shadow Machamp with Rock Slide, even something like that only does 60%, which is pretty wild given that it'll just OHKO flat out, just one shot most things with a few counters. So I thought it was a really interesting flying type for that reason. Also, the sheer bulk on the thing lets it take on Abomasnow in certain situations as well. So with the standard Abomasnow, you're going to beat it straight up in the ones, because you're going to tank one icy weather ball-y thing. That's it. Weather ball. Yeah. I'm thinking about icy wind. I'm not quite sure why, but yeah, you're gonna tank a weather ball and the powder snows, so you're gonna win the ones. Versus the shadow, you're not going to, but the shadow's a bit more frail, so your first Sky attack is going to kill it. So you beat the shadow in the zeros. If you get a two extra sensory lead, which is 6 turns, so it's a lot. If you get a 2 extra sensory lead, you'll win both zeros and ones versus both shadow and non-shadow as well. So if your opponent's a bit slow on the switch, you're going to be taking some sort of advantage there. And a thing I really like about it, well, I would really like about it if I was a grinder and had an XL Lickitung. I think it pairs really well with Lickitung, because Lickitung beats the counter user that Lugia can't beat in Deoxys. So I think they make a really good pair. I kind of feel like your opponent, to have a solid answer to each of them, your opponent probably needs to run something wild like double counter or well, maybe not double counter.
Counts, yeah.
Yeah.
Ghosts maybe.
Yeah, a ghost. Like they need a solid Lickitung counter, which then rules, which is normally a counter user, but then they're not running Doctor's Defense because running double counter is brave. Not bad per se, I don't think, but brave. That sort of thing. I think they pair quite well nicely there. Yeah, ghosts are going to give it a problem, and there's plenty of those knocking about. Ices, electrics as well. But if as it turns out that Abomasnow is going to be the main ice we see, and there's play there, I don't feel that's the end of the world. Yeah, and then I've got down written about Dragontail, about it's going to be, we talk about Charizard and Gyarados as Dragon Breath users. With Dragontail, you can sort of do similar things, especially if it's going to get a damage buff when the new GBL season starts, particularly against the non-Altaria dragons. I think Altaria still beats you, but things like Dragonair, Goodra, Kingdra, you're going to win 2 out of 3 shields versus each of them. I forget which way it was, and I feel like that's only going to improve with the Dragontail improvement. I think Dragonite powers through you too fast, gets to the Dragon Claws too fast, so that one's a bit iffy as well. But then, what I really wanted to talk about was Aeroblast. For context, Focus Blast and Blizzard do 140 damage. Draco Meteor does 150 base damage. Brave Bird, Leaf Storm, Overheat are 130 damage. Aeroblast is 170 damage. Yeah, those previous moves and V-Create are the only moves in the game that have a higher damage per energy. Energy thing. A lot of those have big drawbacks. Aeroblast can in fact buff you, which seems a bit wild. And at 75 energy with extra sensory, you're getting it you're getting it at the exact same speed as a Lapras gets to Skull Bash, which doesn't seem massively slow. It's achievable, especially when you consider the bulk on the thing. And what that does, if you run a set of extra sensory, Aeroblast, and Sky Attack, that gives you a 73% win rate in the zeros, which I think is a little bit meaningless overall, because obviously there's a lot of ice and electric types in there, like Jinx and Regice and stuff like that, which just isn't going to be run. I think what I like looking at is like the PV Poke meta list on there, and of the 36, is it 38 or 36?
38.
I've got so of the 38 things on there in the zeros, it beats 22 of them, and it's a bit deceptive as well, because obviously on there you've got Abomasnow and Shadow Abomasnow, so one of those you can't face both. Realistically, you're not going to face both a Alolan Graveler and a Alolan Golem as well, so you sort of looking for ways to narrow it down. So yeah, you've got a 2/3 win rate in the zeros, so I quite like it. I wouldn't ever use it in the lead, I don't think, because you're not looking great for 2s, because you are a bit slow unless you land it against the counter user, which is obviously great. But in the back, if you use it in the back, you can either use it as a switch into a good matchup or a generalist in the end game in the zeros. So yeah, I just think it's got a lot of play all around, really. Yeah, that's Lugia. Yeah.
I was just trying to do the math. So 22 out of 38. That's about 2/3, is it?
Yeah, it's about roughly. Yeah. Just shy.
Just over half.
Anything that performs well in the zeros is good for me. I like it. I like a good nuke in the back. And it can really, if you can get to a situation where you can farm that middle one down. You might have lost switch. You get a bit of farm. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the Dragontail change does, though, because as I said, the damage is going up, isn't it? But the energy generation is going down. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, like, are you ever going to reach an Aeroblast if you go Dragontail?
Yeah, that's true. I'm expecting something a bit like SmackDown, in terms of move stats or whatever. So which is noticeably slower. But yeah, I think generally the play is extrasensory here, to be honest. But yeah.
Are we going to see more poison types for extrasensory? Because I think there's a bit of an interesting fast move debate there, thinking on what we're expecting to see more. Because I think Dragon Tail is very important for the dragons, but at the same time, you need that coverage elsewhere. So
yeah. I feel like if you bring in Lugia as a dragon counter, I feel like there's better options. I think Gyarados and Charizard are better options.
Okay.
But if you wanted like some weird combination of resistances as well that neither Gyarados or Charizard gave you, or like wanted a nice. It's like I've spoken a lot about Aeroblast, but Sky Attack's a good move. Like a lot of those Zeros matchups that it loses are because you don't get to an Aeroblast in time, but you can get to a Sky Attack and do, and come out having taken 80% of the other thing's health. So, unless you need the resistances it gives you, I think as a dragon counter, it's probably not the best thing, but it's because there's a lot of weaknesses as well. A lot of weaknesses.
Yeah. Yeah, it's got electric weakness as well as an ice weakness. So I think there might be a few electrics floating around. So, but like you say, it's a big wall Lugia, so it can take hits. So it's all about blasting everything.
Yeah, I'd imagine even if you get switch locks against an electric, like most electric types are quite squishy. So you're going to get to a Sky Attack, they're going to have to shield it. I'd imagine. Like, I've not looked, but I'd be shocked if Galv can win without throwing a move and without shielding.
Almost no chance.
It's taking one shield at least.
Yeah, exactly. Like the Raichus, they're gonna have to shield. So I think I can't think of many things that if you say swap Lugia that they could swap back. They could counter your swap and it'd be a wall.
Lantern?
Well, yeah.
Off the top of my head.
I mean, it tends to be electric types because they actually resist flying, whereas things like the ices don't. But I feel like electric types here are. I feel like the teams that they're going to be used on they're going to be important on, but I don't think we're going to see them on a lot of teams, which seems a bit counterintuitive. But yeah, I'm not massively concerned about electric at the minute, but it is something I want to work onto my team if possible. But again, it's another one of those things that has to worry a bit about a bomber snow. So, and you can't have 6 things in your team that lose to a bomber snow. Or, Andrew, got any thoughts on Lugia?
I think the most interesting thing that you said in that, and it kind of scared me the most, was the whole Lugia and XL Lickitung combo. To be honest. I heard those words and kind of my face must have dropped because inside I was like, oh damn, it's got great coverage and the bulk on those two alone. Feasibly, you're taking both your shields and that third one is coming in and sweeping. It's quite a scary prospect. If you get your team comp as the opposition wrong, it's kind of game over before even the battle starts.
Yeah, I mean. The fortunate thing is that both mons are very difficult to get in terms of getting a Lickitung up to 1500 and getting a Lugia below 1500. It can be difficult to do both. Particularly if you're someone who has started PvP recently and hasn't been saving legendaries below 1500 and trading them and that sort of thing. It can be quite difficult to get hold of. So I'm not expecting to see loads of them.
Was Aeroblast a signature move for a period of time? Was it an Elite TM or
was it a raid?
It's Elite TM.
Yeah, you'd have to Elite TM a low one. Yeah, which is another stumbling block.
Because I managed to re-roll one down to 1469 CP. So I might give that a spin. That's currently running Dragon Tail Sky Attack at the moment, and it's got enough candy on it. And I've spent too much dust recently, so I might as well spend that extra 100k more just to
Give it a go, man. Yeah.
You got an XL licky tongue?
I've got a rank 1.
Oh.
He's just
Guess
currently
what?
800 CP.
Let me have a look quickly. Licky tongue. Last time I checked, it was called Do Not Evolve. It's currently 511 CP with 12 XL candies to its name. That's how close it is.
Yeah, almost there, yeah? Almost there.
Yeah. Next Christmas at best.
Yeah. To be fair, that's more XL candy than I've got for it, but that doesn't say a great deal.
But yeah, I just think the bulk alone with the 2 mons that you mentioned, Lugia in itself, like I said, is a very bulky mon. You know, dark types obviously banned. You're looking for the coverage dark moves. I did have a quick look, because obviously it kind of relates to my pick this evening. Night Slash is the obvious dark move that I can think of. And I did put in like Foul Play and Dark Pulse. I think Foul Play, there is no non-dark ones that can learn that move.
Oh, really?
But I think there is Dark Pulse. A few mons do pick up.
You can get Dark Pulse, can't it? I think.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Kanto Muckers as well, which could be a benefit of the Poison Jab buff. But yeah, I think the big worry for me is the ice types, which I think are going to be common, and the lickers, which I think are going to be common. Both of those share weaknesses to counter, which is quite handy. So
yeah, and like I say, with Lugia's fast moves, Dragon and Psychic, basically the types which aren't in this cup, Darkstar and Fairy, are all pretty good against those types. So Lugia is definitely a big beneficiary of those 3 types not being here. I know there's still moves, but the actual mons types. That certainly helps Lugia a lot here. Right,
Stuart, do you want to tell us about your pick then, mate?
Right, Pokedex number 107, Hitmonchan.
Phil will be proud.
Hitmonchan, I think it's a great mon. I think a counter user is almost a must here. With all these XL Licky Tongue floating around, and there's a lot of other good normal types, thinking Vigoroth, maybe even Zangoose going to show up a bit. Munchlax and Snorlax as well. I think you really want that counter user. And why I think Hitmonchan works really well is it can kind of act a bit like the Hypno of the fighting types, because it's got those elemental punches. And you don't quite know what's coming your way. I don't think Fire Punch is the best here, given everything available. So I think it's kind of choosing between Ice or Thunder, or possibly having both. Or you might even need the close combat for nuke coverage, basically. But I think the idea of having a fighting type, which you don't quite know what's coming, is a really good one for this. And I think it could pair very nicely with those normal types, because they could take out the psychic types. Basically, a normal type with a Ghost Fast move could work very well with it. And if you don't know what Hitmonchan, what elemental punch is running, you guess wrong, you could be in trouble.
Yeah. Joe, I once saw someone run Thunder Punch, Ice Punch, and they went up against an Altaria, and they did a reverse bait. So they went for the Thunder Punch first, knowing that the opponent was going to shield to avoid the Ice Punch. And then obviously saw the Thunder Punch and thought, oh, they're not going to Ice Punch. So then went for the Ice Punch and downed it. So yeah, shout out to Elfidel on that one. What an absolute play that was. And that was like years ago awesome. As well. That was before. Yeah. So, well,
I remember there were actually a few Hitmonchan floating around back in, I think, season 1. A couple people went to the championships, which was pretty impressive at the time, because Hitmonchan wasn't really a mon people knew much about. And it's not something that you want to build around. I think it's something which comes in at the end and fills in the gaps that you're missing. But for that, it works really well. Yeah. It's your 6th one which comes in and fills the gaps. So
I guess you choose your punches based on that as well.
Yeah.
Shadow or non-shadow?
Ooh. I was personally thinking regular, because it's not that bulky anyway. So I think you kind of want you want to land a couple of punches, because quite often one punch doesn't really kill something.
No.
So I think regular. I think you want that little bit more bulk, so you get to a couple more punches. That's my feeling. And also with if you do run the close combat, the debuff's gonna make your defense super low after that.
Yeah. I like Ice Punch. I think on the basis that it's neutral versus Abomus now, and there's not a great deal for dragons here, so having something that hits dragons really hard, well, not really hard, but hard enough for 40 energy is nice.
Yeah, it's spammy, and I do agree with you. I think Ice is probably the best one, because I think Thunder, it does help you out against the waters, but it's not. It doesn't make a huge difference. I don't think you even beat Pelipper, Gyarados, Mantine even with Thunder Punch, which. Not gonna lie, I was a bit disappointed by that, but
yeah, I can imagine you struggle with the two. Absolutely,
yeah. But it's still nice coverage regardless. So yeah.
Pelipper's not a one I've heard mentioned here yet. Do you think we'll see a lot of it?
Oh, I like a Pelipper.
I know you like a Pelipper.
I don't know.
James does as well.
I just got all interested all of a sudden. How much does a Thunder Punch do to a Pelipper?
60-70%.
I'm going 85%. I'm saying a bit more. Has anyone actually got a sim open? Right, here we go. I've got some Lugia sims open.
The problem is Pelipper's will be running wing attacks. It's going to farm down so fast. That's the and the weather balls, weather ball spam.
Yeah, so. Thunder Punch 80%. So with the shadow. If you have the shadow, you're going to do 96%. So just a couple of counters will OHKO it. But yeah, I think you're right. Like, and the thing is as well, it's not. I mean, obviously, it's not the bulkiest thing in the world, but it's not on like it's bulkier than Toxicroak. It's not. Yeah. It's not the least bulky counter user. But the problem is it's low HP, which I always feel a little bit bad about, or like a little bit sketchy about, because I always feel like I'm a little bit more susceptible to being farmed down with low HP.
Yeah.
I don't know whether there's any merit in that, or whether I'm just completely making it up and it's sheer coincidence. But it just always seems to be the way to me that things like, and it's the same with Deoxys Defense. Like as bulky as that thing is, whenever I've used Deoxys Defense, I always feel like I'm more likely to be farmed down and give my opponent a load of energy than I am just to be completely OHKO'd with like a big charge move or something like that.
Maybe Dusclops as well on that front, because that's high defense, very low HP.
Yeah, although I've never used Dusclops, so I've never.
Neither have I.
Yeah.
Just throwing it out there. I think if you were running about this month, so.
Yeah.
Before you said you've never used it, those people watching this going, yeah, real Dusclops user there. You can tell he knows his stuff.
Yeah.
Oh dear. But so if you want to nuke the Pelipper, run a Shadow, but otherwise I think
I would agree.
Regular is better.
Do you think that
the Shadow might not even reach it with the wing attacks?
It will.
Oh, but
get to 2?
I
don't know.
Let's have a look. Whether wing attacks and the weather balls would kill it, because
plus weather ball, yes, but if you invest the shield,
Pelipper's not farming down, is it?
No, you win in zeros with the Shadow versus Pelipper. You just about survive a weather ball with the Shadow and the wing attacks. So that's there you go. Top tip.
Fighter that beats flying. Done.
Heard it here first. Yeah.
All flyers. Got electric and ice. Covers both bases.
Not Lugia though, because Lugia is bulky as hell. That's. But no, just back to actual useful stuff. Like
why you run your XL licky tongues and get the Lugia.
Do you think there's much need for close combat here?
Well, to hit those licky tongues, yeah.
Well, yeah.
It's the thing is, it's a lot of the normal types are quite bulky. So if you farm something down and then sentry in the back unshielded, you can land the close combat. They might not see it coming, or they won't have shields anyway. Could be a play, I think. Yeah. I think there's enough normal types that are bulky that it's worth considering. Not sure on Power Up Punch. I think Power Up Punch is kind of not what you want, but close combat nuke could do something.
Yeah, agreed. Certainly no power punch. Yeah, because I'm having a similar debate with myself about Primate, because I think Primate's the counter user I'm favouring, and I don't know whether I'm wanting. Well, I'm certainly having Night Slash. I don't know whether I particularly want close combat.
The thing about Primate is that Night Slash.
Yeah.
That Night Slash is so nice because there's so many psychic types about. So I think Night Slash is a must. And if you want the ice coverage, then there's no room for close combat. So
yeah. Exactly. So this is tough decisions to be made with a lot of the fighting types, really. Like even things like Machamp, which to be fair, I feel like if you're going to run Machamp, you need a really niche reason for using it, because it's kind of feels like Primeape is sort of the same with similar coverage in terms of anti-counters. It seems to me that Rock and Dark hit similar things. In terms of like a lot of the ghost types are weak to it or something, I thought flying types are good with Rock. So yeah, it feels to me like Machamp is as a 4-point option is a bit low, but the Rock Slide might be something that's hits a bit harder than most of the coverage moves we're talking about.
But with the fighters, I think there's so many good. Well, Primate and Hitmonchan for starters. I think there's a few good 1-point options that I'm not sure you want to invest a higher point into the counter user. I think it might be a good idea to use one of the 1-pointers here.
Yeah, I know
that's my feeling.
You're a big fan of Toxicroak, aren't you, Andrew?
Yeah, that is my proposed counter user. I do like Primate a lot, though. I ran afoul of an Ice Punch from a Primate the other night, and it pretty much one-shotted my pick that I'm going to speak about later. So, yeah, I've got to watch out for that later. But when I found out Stuart was talking about Hitmonchan, I thought it was probably the most interesting pick of the 4 tonight. Like I say, with the versatility of elemental punches. I think even though we're going to see a lot of ice types anyway, I still think Ice Punch is the way to go in this.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see a lot of flyers. I think you have to have the nuke move. I think you have to run close combat on Hitmonchan.
Interesting.
I think you have to say, it's going in, it's taking the shield, it's going down. That's its job. I don't see the point in trying to take it into the 1s and the 2 shield scenario. Well, definitely, I don't think it'll even last the 2 shield scenario. But I think it's just nuke and dip or nuke and die, basically.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's similar to Overheat on Ninetales in that regard, I suppose. But like I never played Retro Cup in GBL, but I'm told that shield advantages was nice there.
Yeah.
And so having these big nuke type moves that really pressure your opponent into shielding, seems like it's having the big nuke and the fast bait like Ninetales has, and like Hitmonchan potentially has, seems like a nice way to go.
You could even potentially build up to the nuke, in this case close combat, chuck the elemental punch, and even then, depending on situations, you can potentially dip out and give your opponent switch advantage, but knowing that you've got little farm come end of match to throw that nuke move as well. It may be high risk, high reward kind of play style, but I think in certain situations it could really pay dividends.
Yeah, absolutely.
I agree about the close combat. I just quickly ran a sim against the Lickitung in the 0 if you're running double punches, and you win because of the counters, but you win with 16 HP left. So that's when you worry about the next one coming in and just farm you, because you're not going to get to another move with 16 HP.
No.
Whereas if you're running close combat, you beat the Lickitung and you've got almost double that, almost triple that left. So although your defense is dropped, could you then switch? I know you've then lost switch, which you just won, but at least you hit one chance in a life later with enough health to reach whatever punch you've chosen. I just think if you've got a fighter to beat, and it's the Primate problem as well, I think. You've got a fighter to beat your normals, you really don't want to get into a match of using these low energy moves that are tickling it. Like Thunder Punch does 20% to a Lickitung.
Yeah.
That's pathetic, isn't
like,
it?
and because of the counters, you only need 2 of them. But like, you might as well close combat.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, no, that's why I think close combat's so important, because like I say, the normal types are bulky. They don't. Then the counter plus elemental isn't enough. It helps, but it's not. Yeah. It doesn't make it easy. If you're using a fighter, you want to hit the normals. If you're not hitting the normals hard enough, why are you using it? That's kind of my logic.
Yeah, in the 0, the Lickitung. Well, I've just lost it. So in the 0, you win because you reach the second Ice Punch before they reach the second Body Slam. But if that's 1 turn in it, so it's CMP. It's CMP on the second move. So like if the Lickitung gets 1 lick in, you're losing to a normal type with Hitmonchan in the 0. So if you're not running close combat, so I think you need a fight.
Yeah. Sold. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And that'll be the same with things like Munchlax as well, I suppose, as well. So
similar situation.
But I think, like, speaking of, you've mentioned other fighters, I think Primeape has the same problem. Like Night Slash is a better move than punches, but I think you just get into a similar thing of just doing neutral damage to something that you could be hitting super effective.
Yeah, and that was one of the reasons why I looked at it, because initially I thought Ice Punch would be nice. And I thought, well, just generally speaking, but I thought matchups like that where the Night Slash is just that 1 turn quicker, it makes it less susceptible to being caught out on the switch versus the counter use. And there's always a chance to buff as well, but obviously you're not then carrying the coverage moves of Hitmonchan and the sort of unknown risk that comes with tanking a charge move from it if you're weak to an elemental type. Okay.
At the end of the day, it's team dependent. It's what works for you better, I think. So they're all good options. So tailor it to what you need.
Agreed. Right, should we move on to Andrew then with his last pick that got downed by Hitmonchan?
Yeah. No, it was actually a Primeape, Matthew.
Oh, was it? Oh, that's interesting.
Primeape running Ice Punch, yes.
Okay.
So I've gone for Pokédex number 472, and that is Gliscor. It's got pretty good win percentages. PvPoke recommends Fury Cutter as its fast move.
That's interesting.
I'm not running Fury Cutter. I'm running Wing Attack on mine in practice. But in ones, Fury Cutter as a fast move picks you up 72.8%. You know, the 0.8 obviously makes a huge difference, but yeah, 72% of it meta. Wing Attack's only picking you up 69. You take it to the 2 shields. Again, a bit similar to Hitmonchan. Very rare you're going into a 2 shield scenario with Gliscor. But Fury Cutter gets you 67%, whereas Wing Attack gets you 69. Again, it's 0.3 of a win percentage on Wing Attack between 1s and 2s, so it's kind of like the stable option. But the main thing for me, which while you guys have been chatting about your picks, because I've been asleep half the night, Wing Attack picks up the Medi, whereas the Fury Cutter doesn't.
Right.
Now, do I really want to be running a part flying type that loses to a Medicham? Not really. So that is kind of why I've gone, Wing Attack. Again, by fluke, I ran Wing Attack. I looked, earlier on today, and there's actually Fury Cutter as the recommended moveset with Night Slash and Earthquake. But when I first saw the meta and saw obviously Dark and Fairies were banned, I love a Charmer. I've got no shame, I'll say it. A9,
no shame at all.
No shame. But no, the lack of Darkmons, with your Ghost types, your Psychic types, I was looking straight away. My first pick was a Mon that had the Dark move for a bit of coverage. I ran Gliscor in Prismatic for one tournament, and everyone was saying, no, Whimsicott is MVP. No, it's not. it was Gliscor back then, and that's what kind of led me in that direction.
See the
Is it
pain in
gonna-
Stuart's face.
Is it going to have the same kind of effect on this meta? Probably not. There's an argument of Primate does the same job with Night Slash coverage, but I like the Earthquake as well. You know, the main wins it's picking up. I don't think we're going to see too many of these, but a load of Marowak.
Yeah.
It's picking up Cresselia.
Yeah.
It's picking up Defense Deoxys.
Yeah.
That's nice.
So
Yeah.
Calvantula, which hurts me inside. I'm running anti-Calv.
Yeah.
But I think with the poison, you know, buffs and all that, I think there's going to be a new spider in town soon. So yeah, and again, that kills me to say it. But it also picks up the Mew. Now I'm thinking, I'm not running the PvP moveset from Mew myself, but I think Mew is Wild Charge Dragon Claw.
Or Wild Charge.
I always think Surf with Mew. I always kind of expect Surf. Just what I think when I see it.
PvP recommends the Dragon Claw Wild Charge. I could imagine the Surf would make the matchup a bit more ropey. But yeah, so that's its main 5 wins. It's losing to Altaria. It's losing, as I said, to Medi if you're running the Fury Cutter. Wing attack can pick it up. Hypno you're losing to. I'm guessing that will be on Ice Punch.
Ice Punch, yeah.
Yeah, that was
must
a
be.
common matchup in Prison, wasn't it? And I think if it didn't have Ice Punch, you win that. But if it does have Ice Punch, you struggle.
Yeah, and then obviously Frostlass is probably murdering it at the sight of it.
Yeah.
And then Wizcash, I'm guessing that's probably bait dependent on the blizzard.
That'll be very baity.
Yeah.
I can't see any other way of that not being the way for the Wizcash to pick up the win, to be honest.
I bet Wishcash can go straight blizzard in the ones, but probably not the 2.
The thing I wanted to say is that Gliscor does not get to Earthquake very fast if it has wing attack. So Whiscash will be getting to a couple of blizzards. So
I mean, I've done 2 practice tournaments and I've managed 1 whole Earthquake with Gliscor.
This is the problem I have.
So you've got no Psyshocks, 1 Earthquake.
Yeah. You can tell my team's gone one-dimensional already.
You might as well just run one move.
Oh
yeah. It was interesting when I didn't notice when you were reeling off the things that it beat. Like I was thinking, none of these it beats because of Earthquake, and again we've got that combination of big nuke in Earthquake and short spam like in Night Slash. But if you don't need the big nuke to do its thing, you're almost better off going for the Night Slashes because you might get the boost.
Well, I'm pretty sure I mentioned this to you, Matt, and I think you shot me down instantly.
Sounds like me, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. To be fair, anything I'd say you can already shoot me down.
Yeah.
If you're worried about not getting to Earthquakes that often or at all, why not run Sand Tomb?
Oh yeah, I do remember that. Yeah.
And go for
Now we're
a
talking.
debuff chance. So you've got attack buff with Night Slash, debuff with the Sand Tomb. I know you're losing your nuke, but if you're not hitting your nuke, you said it yourself.
Yeah, it's fair. I can't argue with that. I did say that.
Yeah. So that might be my next project to try out. So we might have to do Chat and Shit 2.5. Just for Gliscor and Sand Tomb. But no, I think the main one is if you have a shield advantage. So I think Gliscor could fill the role of a nice little closer, potentially. If you're running wing attack with a 1 shield advantage, you've got 529 wins, 36 losses. Some of the losses, as we spoke about before, the other choices are pathetic, like Vanillish. Who is running Vanillish?
Yeah, it's got the Lugia problem in that sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Fury Cutter, 500. So it dropped 9 wins on the Fury Cutter. They've got the same amount of draws, which I think was 1 draw. And yeah, it's 36 and 45 losses. But I do see it as a bit of a closer. I've tried it as a safe swap, which sounds absolutely suicidal, and in most cases it was. But I think Gliscor has a bit of a niche mon for this.
Yeah.
Primate, as I said, with a Night Slash, kind of may have more versatility being a counter user in terms of how you might see team comps go. Beats the Abomasnow, which obviously the Gliscor kind of cries at. So yeah, but what I did like is the fact that obviously I'm running Wing Attack, I'm beating the counter users.
Yeah.
With Gliscor, I've got potential to throw Night Slashes for the fun of it, get some early boosts in, and I think Stuart suffered some Night Slash horror and Prismatic. Am I right there, Stuart?
Yes. Well, yeah. I use Gliscor a lot in Prismatic, and I'm afraid to say we had a bit of a falling out, and it's not going well at the moment. So, I mean, the problem is it's a flying type with a flying move that wasn't beating Shiftry.
Yeah.
Shiftry's not here, so that's another point. But yeah. My main issue with Gliscor is there's ice types. There's ice types everywhere. I mean, you mentioned the Abomasnow, but Lapras, Dugong, Frostlass, Glalie, Snowy Castform.
Yeah.
That's my big problem with Gliscor this month. I just think I don't know if this is the right place for it. And are you getting to land those earthquakes? Because I think this is going to be quite a fast-paced meta as well. I think there might be a lot of spam out there. Or that might actually be very dependent on the team people bring. But I'm not... Gliscor for me is neither one nor the other. It's not bulky enough to take many hits, and it's not getting to its fast moves quick enough. I feel it's a very awkward middle ground for me, personally.
I think for me, I know this is a bit hypocritical given that I picked Lugia, but I think for me, like the two things you don't want your 1 point picks to be weak to are counter and ice, because I feel like because of the Lickers and the Dragons, or the Ghosty Normals and the Dragons, most teams are going to have a Dragon and an Ice, and there's not a massive amount of solid counters to those things anyway, and so you're probably relying on the picks that have the 4, the 6, the 10 point picks to beat those, and so I kind of feel at best you want, or at worst you want your 1 point picks to not be encouraging those in. So like with Hitmonchan and Ninetales, for example, then it's neither weak to counter nor ice, and I think it helps your team balance that way. Whereas Gliscor, I mean, I suppose to be fair, like it's resisting counter and it's weak to ice, so there's maybe it evens out a bit. I don't know. But what I think is interesting that you keep comparing it to Primate because of the Night Slash. Like I think you could potentially. Like, I get it, like in terms of the looking for Night Slash, and I think that's a really good place to start actually when it comes to looking for mons here. I really do, but I still think these are distinctly different roles. I think you could potentially, like if you were really really paranoid about ghosts and psychics and Mew and that sort of thing, I think you could run a team of something like Zangoose, Primate, Gliscor, and just pure, have 3 distinct roles there and just bench pressure the crap out of ghosts just so you're not going to see them. Like, I feel like it's probably not something Gliscor's doing on its own, but I think if you see it, if your opponent sees it there with a Zangoose or with a Primate as well or something like that, then that might set off alarm bells in the head of like, right, there, I can't be bringing my Drifblim to this game or whatever.
I think this is a great meta for Zangoose. I think we'll see a lot of Zangoose myself. It's got all the right moves, I think, for this cut.
Yes. Yeah.
Zangoose was really good in retro.
Yeah.
That was good retro. Yeah.
Yeah, retro. Yeah.
Yeah, Zangoose. I don't know. Like I looked at it quite early on, and I can't remember why exactly, but there were things that I thought I just assumed it would do that it just didn't, and I can't remember what those were. Maybe I need to look again because my perspective on the cup will have changed in the past week or however long it's been out. But well, I thought Zangoose's presence in the 4-point slot I thought was immediately interesting, because to me that suggests that still think it's important to have a ghostly normal. But then, like, why is Zangoose less than Snorlax, Munchlax, Licky Tongue, Licky? Like, there's got to be reasons for that, despite its better charge moves, or potentially better charge moves, better combination of charge moves, let's say.
Probably a bulk thing.
Yeah, bulk. It's just not bulky. That'd be it. Yeah.
Cool. Well, unless anyone's got any final thoughts on Gliscor or anything we've talked about tonight, we're probably just passing the hour mark now or something like that. So, yeah, we'll call it a night.
Yeah, nice one. Good picks.
Yeah. Joe, this is what I envisaged chatting shit to be about, like just the weird picks. Sometimes it strays from that, sometimes it gets that, but this is. I've thoroughly enjoyed both episodes so far, and I'm sure I will. For the remaining episodes. Just as a bit of a preview, episode 3 is going to be with the Spice Lords themselves, Corden, Ginger Ninja, and X Penchu. So even for 1-point picks, I'm sure we've got some serious spice coming up. But really enjoyed this, guys. They're good picks, I think. Even Gliscor. I know Andrew.
Yeah, even
Gliscor.
Yeah.
To be fair though, I said to Matt probably yesterday, maybe the day before, I was like, "What have I done? Why did I even take Gliscor?"
Well,
I think really I should have picked Mew, but I mean it was only 1-point pick, so I would have gone Toxie rather. I think I would have gone Toxie.
Well,
everyone knows Toxie though. Everyone's used Toxie to death last month, so.
But
yeah,
I can kind of give some useful information and make it sound half decent. Gliscor, Ice dead.
if it makes you feel any better, until a theme developed with the other guys' picks for the upcoming episode, which I felt like I then had to fit in with, I was going to talk about Shadow Cypher. So, which would have been. I thought I'm going to outspice the Spice Lords, so I was going to go all in. And then I thought, actually, that's at what point is it useful, and at what point is it just taking the piss? And I think Gliscor's definitely on the right side of that line. So,
just about. What was I going to say, guys? Are you all planning to run a Mew? Obviously, I'm not going to be in any of your regionals, so team-wise, team builds and that is not a.
If I entered a tournament tomorrow, I would have Mew on the team.
Okay. What are you running?
I'm not telling you that. because Holmesy is in my regionals.
Okay.
I currently have a single moved shiny Mew because I powered up my first ever one, so I've yet to build a Great League Mew, but I'm thinking about it. I think it only goes to like 14-6, so I got a bit of a rough deal.
Yeah.
I don't have a Mew ready, but if I did, I'd say I'd probably have Surf Wild Charge. I think that's very nice coverage.
What do you guys think of Rock Slide Flame Charge?
Flame Charge? That seems very, very anti-Abomus now.
Yeah. Again, pretty much, this regionals, I can tell the way it's going to go. It's going to be...
Bring Ninetales.
You think I'll pick Galv, you think I'll pick Snowy Castle. No, I'm just going to run anti-typical Drew meta.
Right.
I'm running anti-everything.
No. What you're doing is
I'm purely over.
I've seen what you're doing there. For the Gliscor. Kill all the ice types with the fire and rock. No ice types required. This is what your plan is.
Well, actually, I completely dismantled my team the other night, I think I lost 3-1 in the practice the other night, and I lost to some stupid mons. I was absolutely... I think I messaged you, didn't I, Brewer?
Yes, you did.
12 seconds later.
I'm going to have to delete this.
This This is now outtakes. It's fine.
It was just a nice discussion about new movesets. And
Yeah.
No, it's still fine. This is why we practice. This is why we talk about this.
Do you know what? I did look at a Mew because I was a bit the anti-ghost types. I was a bit annoyed that they were also hard-walled by Lickers. I actually looked at Snarl rather than Shadow Claw, just because it's not completely worthless versus things like Munchlax and that sort of thing. Because he's still doing the anti-ghost and anti-psychic thing that Shadow Claw's doing. And it's not something I'd rule out. But I mean, as I say, I'm not completely sold on Mew either. I really loved Mew early on in Vortex, and then very quickly grew to dislike it. So
Vortex.
There we go. Big up Vortex.
Bring back the memories.
Did I say someone was on Twitter talking about is it Dark Pulse Focus Blast?
Ooh.
So
why not run Zangoose then?
Yeah, but
No,
also
that's
like you probably don't need. I know Zangoose has the Night Slash, but I guess that's like quite nice for the boost. I think if you're running Shadow Claw, you need Dark Pulse. You kind of like you're taking one of the most versatile mons and then narrowing it a little bit. A Focus Blast, interesting. You got them. Imagine like Lickitung. You say swap Mew and comes Lickitung.
I mean, at that point, like another thing, I looked at Focus Blast Gengar as well, because that Focus Blast Gengar will. I think Lickitung can survive a Focus Blast, but other than that, it OHKOs all of the ghosty normals, like even Munchlax.
This is the thing about Mew though. What's a hard counter to Mew?
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll run Mew. It wasn't something I looked at initially. Anyway, it certainly wasn't something that jumped out to me. It just so happened to fit the current build that I ended up on. But anyway, we'll call it there before we chat too much about picks that aren't 1 point. Don't want to give anyone too many ideas.
What do you think to Frostlass?
I love it. Obviously, love it. But, see. Right, guys. Thank you very much. It's been been great.
Cheers. Thank you.
Best of luck to you all in your regionals. Obviously, except James, because we don't.
He's out for blood this year.
Nothing personal. It's nothing personal.
I'm surprised I was invited on. In fact, he messaged me beforehand saying you're only allowed on if you send me your whole team.
It's the only way I'm going to win a regionals. That's for sure. Right, cheers, guys. Catch you later.
Okay.
Cheers. Bye.
Cheers.